of a small mountain village in the snow country of Japan. There lived an old man and his wife. They had little in this world that they could call their own, but they were happy in their life together. Now one winter morning, the old man set out for the village with a bundle of firewood fastened to his back. It was bitter cold, and he knew he would have little trouble selling the wood. Then, with the money, he would buy some food so that he and his wife could have a good supper. The old man trudged through the falling snow. He was suddenly aware of a fluttering sound and a pitiful cry of caw, caw. Turning from the path to investigate, he came upon a great crane, frantically trying to free herself from a trap. Yeah, the illustrations are really pretty. Very simple. The old man's heart was touched with pity for the magnificent bird, and while he tried to soothe the crane with his tender words, his hands released the cruel spring of the trap. At once, the crane flew up, joyfully calling, caw, caw, and disappeared into the snowy sky. With a lighter step, the old man went on through the snow, and when he had sold his wood, he returned once more to his humble house. While his old wife busied herself with preparing supper, he told her about rescuing the crane. "That was a good deed," she said. "Surely the gods will one day reward you for your kind heart." As she spoke these words, there came a tapping on the door. The old wife hastened to see who was there, and upon opening the door, beheld a beautiful young girl standing in the swirling snow. Her delicate face glowed like a peach beginning to ripen in the summer sun, and her dark eyes sparkled in the dancing firelight from the hearth. "Forgive my knocking at your door," she said in a soft voice, "but I have lost my way in the snow. May I share the warmth of your fire tonight?" Then, bowing low before the two old people, she said, "My name is Tsuru-san." "Oh, you poor child," cried the old wife. "Come in at once before you freeze in the bitter cold." They sat the girl down close to the hearth, and the old wife piled more wood on the flames, so that the girl would soon be warm. The old couple shared their simple supper of hot porridge with Tsuru-san, all the time feasting their eyes on her great beauty. Then they gave her their bed with its warm quilts to sleep on, while they spent the night huddled on a pile of straw. In the morning, when they awoke, the old man and his wife were surprised to see a good fire already burning on the hearth. The water urn was filled with fresh, clean water. The floors had been swept, and all the rooms were clean and tidy. "Tsuru-san," sleeves of her kimono neatly tied back with a red cord, was busily stirring a pot over the fire. "Good morning," she said, bowing to the old couple. "If you will wash your hands, we may eat breakfast, for the porridge is cooked and ready." "In our old age, we have a daughter," said the old man, laughing. "It is the gods smiling on us for your good deed of yesterday," replied his wife happily. That's so cute. The snow and bitter cold continued for many days, and so Tsuru-san stayed in the shelter of the old couple's home. As she had neither mother nor father, it was at last decided that she would remain as a daughter to these people. The children of the neighborhood were soon attracted to the house, as the girl was such a delight to be with. The house rang with happy laughter, and the hearts of the old man and his wife were filled with joy at the sound. And so the days of early winter passed, and soon it would be time for the great New Year celebration. The old man spoke to his wife, saying, "Tsuru-san has been such a delight to us. If only I could give her the gift of a new kimono. Or if I could make her a rice cake for the new year," his wife added. But alas, the winter had been hard. The old man had not been able to cut wood to sell, so there was no money to buy even rice, much less a kimono. Now Tsuru-san had overheard them talking, and it grieved her that these good people should be so poor. Coming before them, she bowed and said, "Dear parents, I know there has been no wood to sell, but perhaps I can help you and repay your great kindness to me. There is an old loom in the back room. I will weave cloth on it for you to sell in the village. Only you must promise that no one shall look at me while I am weaving." The old man and his wife thought this was an odd request, but they readily agreed. Tsuru-san locked herself in the room, and soon they heard the sound of tinkora kora bam bam, tinkora kora bam bam. I don't know what kind of sound effect this is, as the shuttle sped back and forth and the fabric grew in length. Oh, look how kind they are. Tinkora kora bam bam, tinkora kora bam bam. For 3 days this continued, and Tsuru-san paused for neither food nor rest. Then, at last, the door opened, and she stepped out, holding in her hands a bolt of cloth, such as the old man and his wife had never seen in all their lives. They gasped at its beauty and marveled at its incredible softness. "Dear father," said the girl, "take this cloth into the village and sell it. It will be but small payment for the happy home you have given me. Remember this, however," she continued. "Do not put a price on this cloth, and you will fare better than you can imagine." Without wasting a moment, the old man hurried into the center of the village, and when people saw the beautiful cloth he was carrying, a crowd soon gathered. "I will pay 10 10 gold pieces for your cloth," said one man. "No, no," cried another. "Sell it to me for 20 gold pieces." "You would be a fool to sell it for such a price, old man," said another. "This is a bolt of rare, jeweled brocade. I will pay you 50 gold pieces for it." And so it went, with each man offering more, until the old man finally sold the cloth for 100 pieces of gold. That's probably like $1,000 or something, like a good chunk of money, in today's in today's economy. I feel like in today's if you translate it into today's money, it's definitely like at least $1,000, because that's like a lot of money. I don't actually know though. Pausing only long enough to buy rice for rice cakes, a kimono for Tsuru-san, and a few delicacies for New Year's Day. The man hurried home with his pockets jingling. Tomorrow is the New Year's Day," he sang. "The New Year is the happy time, eating rice cakes whiter than snow, drinking sake that is smoother than oil." Then such a hustle and bustle there was, as the old man and his wife prepared for the feast. As he pounded the rice, his wife made it into fine white cakes. And on New Year's Day, all the children came in for a great party with their friend, Tsuru-san. Still, the cold days of winter followed one after the other, until at last one day Tsuru-san said to the old people, "It is time for me to weave another bolt of cloth for you, so that you will have the money to live until the spring returns. But remember what I told you. No one is to look at me while I am working." Again, they promised that they would not, and the girl once more locked herself in the room and began weaving. Tinkora-kora-pan-pan, went the loom. One day passed, and then the second. Still, the sound of the loom filled the house. By now, the neighbors had grown curious. "Is Tsuru-san weaving again?" asked one. "Soon you will have more gold pieces to hide under the floor," said another with a smile and a wink. Did it work? Did I wink? I winked. Okay. "The loom makes such an interesting sound," remarked the first one. "I would love to see what Tsuru-san is doing." Oh, they can't see that. "We have promised not to watch her while she works," said the old man. "What an odd request," cried one of the people. "I would not make such a promise to my daughter, you can believe me. What harm could there be in taking one look?" Now, in truth, the old woman had been most curious about Tsuru-san's weaving, and encouraged by her neighbor's remarks, she stepped up to a crack in the door. Stop, old woman," cried her husband when he saw what was happening. "Tsuru-san has forbidden it." But it was too late. His wife had already peeked through the crack. What a sight it was that met her eye! There, sitting at the loom, was a great white crane, pulling feathers from her body and miraculously weaving them into cloth. old woman stepped back from the door, and before she could relay what she had seen, the door opened. Out stepped Tsurusan, thin and pale, holding in her hands a half-finished bolt of cloth. "Dear parents," she said in a weak voice, "I am the crane you rescued from the trap. I wanted to repay your kindness by weaving you another bolt of cloth." Then her eyes filled with tears. "But now that you've seen me in my true form, I can no longer stay with you." With this, she kissed the man and his wife tenderly and walked out of the house. Instantly, she became a crane once more, and with a great wish of her wings, flew up into the sky. Slowly, she circled overhead, and then, with a single cry of "Go!" as if to say goodbye, the crane maiden was gone forever. The end. Not a very happy ending, huh? A lot of these fairy tales are kind of like that. You know, it's not really clear what lesson they're trying to teach, but I think they're nice stories regardless. Okay. It was nice, right? I love it a lot. That's probably my favorite one. Maybe because it has to do with weaving cloth. And everyone involved in the story is really sweet and well-meaning, you know. Even the old lady, she just, you know, she can't see, you know, what harm it could do to just take a look. But she didn't really do anything, you know, really bad. So I really like all the characters in this story. Yeah, she was curious. The lesson is to keep your promises. Okay, I have another story for you guys prepared, okay? Now, I have not read this one, so I don't know, it might be a little bit scary, I'm not sure. But I wanted to read it because it's called The Goblin Spider. So maybe a bit of a tone shift. It's me, I'm the Goblin Spider. It's true. So I don't know, maybe it's gonna be scary, but we're gonna take a look, okay? The Goblin Spider, rendered into English by, I don't know if I'm gonna say this right, Lafcadio Hearn. In very ancient books, it is said that there used to be many goblin spiders in Japan. Some folks declare there are still some goblin spiders. During the daytime, they look just like common spiders, but very late at night, when everybody is asleep and there is no sound, they become very, very big and do awful things. Goblin spiders are supposed also to have the magical power of taking human shape so as to deceive people. And there is a famous famous story about such a spider. There was once, in some lonely part of the country, a haunted temple. No one could live in the building because of the goblins that had taken possession of it. Many brave samurai went. To that place at various times for the purpose of killing the goblins, but they were never heard of again after they had entered the temple. At last, the one who was famous for his courage and his prudence went to the temple to watch during the night, and he said to those who accompanied him there, "If in the morning I be still alive, I shall drum upon the drum of the temple." Then he was left alone to watch by the light of a lamp. Wow, these drawings are amazing. Oh, do you see the spider web in the corner? Scary. As the night advanced, he crouched down under the altar, which supported a dusty image of Buddha. He saw nothing strange and heard no sound until after midnight. Then there came a goblin, having but half a body and one eye, and said, "There's the smell of a man." But the samurai did not move. The goblin went away. Then there came a priest who played upon a samisen so wonderfully that the samurai felt sure it was not the playing of a man. So he leapt up with his sword drawn. The priest, seeing him, burst out laughing and said, "So you thought I was a goblin? Oh no, I am only the priest of this temple, but I have to play to keep off the goblins. Does not this samisen sound well? Please, play a little." And he offered the instrument to the samurai, who grasped it very cautiously with his left hand. But instantly, the samisen changed into a monstrous spider web, and the priest into a goblin. Into a goblin spider, and the warrior found himself caught fast in the web by the left hand. He struggled bravely. You guys, stop being funny. He struggled bravely and struck at the spider with his sword and wounded it. But he soon became entangled still more in the net and could not move. However, the wounded spider crawled away, and the sun rose. In a little while, the people came and found the samurai in the horrible web and freed him. They saw tracks of blood. They saw tracks of blood along the floor and followed the tracks out of the temple to a hole in the deserted garden. Out of the hole issued a frightful sound of groaning. They found the wounded goblin in the hole and killed it. The end. The end. Wow, what an ending. Question mark? goblin spider was kind of evil, though, to be honest. I was also rooting for the spider, but yeah, happy ending, I guess. I guess if you think about it. Some of these stories are really like that. They just kind of, they just kind of just end. That was it. But with it ending like that, so suddenly, doesn't that make you feel like, what? I don't know, I'm trying to find a way to make it like a little more scary, but never trust, that's the moral of the story. Never trust a lone monk, Sami-san. Alright, I have one more for you guys. This one I really don't know anything about. It's called the Matsuyama Mirror. This is from the same series of stories, so let's take a look. The message is that there are human form spiders that play instruments to lure young buggles into their web. Hey now. You shut your mouth. Okay. Alright, the Matsuyama Mirror. Well, that's a fun little toy. Anyway. Oh look, the letter A is the mirror. Wow, I love that touch. Oh, I almost didn't notice. That's so nice. I love the way this is printed. I would love to have a copy of these stories. Wow, this is so nice. A long time ago, there lived in a quiet spot a young man and his wife. They had one child, a little daughter, whom they both loved with all their hearts. I cannot tell you their names, for they have been long since forgotten. But the name of the place where they lived was Matsuyama, in the province of Echigo. It happened once, while the little girl was still a baby, that the father was obliged to go to the great city, the capital of Japan, upon some business. It was too far for the mother and her little baby to go, so he set out alone, after bidding them goodbye and promising to bring them home some pretty present. The mother had never been further from home than the next village, and she could not help being a little frightened at the thought of her husband taking such a long journey. And yet she was a little proud too, for he was the first man in all that countryside who had been to the big town where the king and his great lords lived, and where there were so many beautiful and curious things to be seen. At last, the time came when she might expect her husband back, so she dressed the baby in its best clothes, and herself put on a pretty blue dress which she knew her husband liked. That's cute. You may fancy how glad this good wife was to see him come home safe and sound, and how the little girl clapped her hands and laughed with delight when she saw the pretty toys her father had brought for her. had much to tell of all the wonderful things he had seen upon the journey, and in the town itself. "I have brought you a very pretty thing," he said to his wife. "It is called a mirror. Look, and tell me what you see inside." He gave to her a plain, white, wooden box, in which, when she had opened it, she found a round piece of metal. One side was white, like frosted silver, and ornamented with raised figures of birds and flowers. The other was bright as the clearest crystal. Into it, the young mother looked with delight and astonishment, for from its depths was looking at her with parted lips and bright eyes a smiling, happy face. "What do you see?" again asked the husband. Pleased at her astonishment, and glad to show that he had learned something while he had been away, "I see a pretty woman looking at me, and she moves her lips as if she was speaking, and dear me, how odd! She has on a blue dress, just like mine." "Why, you silly woman, it is your own face that you see," said the husband, proud of knowing something that his wife didn't know. "That round piece of metal is called a mirror. In the town, everybody has one, although we have not seen them in this country place before." The wife was charmed with their present, and, for a few days, could not look in the mirror often enough. For you must remember that, as this was the first time she had seen a mirror, so, of course, it was the first time she had seen the reflection of her own pretty face. But she considered such a wonderful thing far too precious for everyday use, and soon shut it up in its box again, and put it away carefully among her most valued treasures. Years passed on, and the husband and wife still lived happily. The joy of their life was their little daughter, who grew up the very image of her mother, and who was so dutiful and affectionate that everybody loved her. Mindful of her own little passing vanity on finding herself so lovely, the mother kept the mirror carefully hidden away, fearing that the use of it might breed a spirit of pride in her little girl. She never spoke of it, and as for the father, he had forgotten all about it. So it happened that the daughter grew up as simple as the mother had been, and knew nothing of her own good looks, or of the mirror which could have reflected them. But by and by, a terrible misfortune happened to this happy little family. The good, kind mother fell sick, and although her daughter waited upon her day and night with loving care, she got worse and worse, until at last there was no hope but that she must die. These stories are sad. When she found that she must so soon leave her husband and child, the poor woman felt very sorrowful, grieving for those she was going to leave behind, and most of all for her little daughter. She called the girl to her and said, "My darling child, you know that I'm very sick. Soon I must die and leave your dear father and you alone. When I am gone, promise me that you will look into this mirror every night and every morning. There you will see me, and know that I am still watching over you." With these these words, she took the mirror from its hiding place and gave it to her daughter. The child promised with many tears, and so the mother, seeming now calm and resigned, died a short time after. Now, this obedient and dutiful daughter never forgot her mother's last request, but each morning and evening took the mirror from its hiding place and looked in it long and earnestly. There, she saw the bright and smiling vision of her lost mother, not pale and sickly as in her last days, but the beautiful young mother of long ago. To her at night, she told the story of the trials and difficulties of the day. To her in the morning, she looked for sympathy and encouragement in whatever might be in store for her. So day by day she lived as in her mother's sight, striving still to please her as she had done in her lifetime, and careful always to avoid whatever might pain or grieve her. Her greatest joy was to be able to look in the mirror and say, "Mother, I have been today what you would have me to be." Oh man. Seeing her every night and morning without fail, look into the mirror and seem to hold converse with it, her father at length asked her the reason of her strange behavior. "Father," she said, "I look in the mirror every day to see my dear mother and to talk with her." Then she told him of her mother's dying wish and how she had never failed to fulfill it. Touched by so much simplicity and such faithful, loving obedience, the father shed tears of pity and affection, nor could he find it in his heart to tell the child that the image she saw in the mirror was but the reflection of her own sweet face. By constant sympathy and association, becoming more and more like her dead mothers, day by day. That was a really sweet story. Sad but sweet, you know. That was really, really sweet. That's a good one to end on, huh? I really love that. I'm glad I just really picked that one. I'm getting emotional again for the second ASMR in a row. That's really sweet.